Kerry Gustafson, thank you so much for joining me here on the Building Bellingham Pivot Series. It's May 4th. It's Star Wars Day. Are you a Star Wars fan?
I am. I went to the movie with my dad and my sister when it first came out in the theaters years and years and years ago. So yeah, May the 4th be with you.
Yes, May 4th with you as well. What's your favorite original movie?
I just think the classic, the very first one, I think is my favorite one.
Yeah,
So
great one.
how about you?
I have to say, Return of the Jedi. That's my favorite. When they're the final
Yep.
showdown, what we thought was the final showdown, right? Yeah. But
Yeah, right.
well, thank you so much for joining me today. You're with the Prime Institute, Prime Sports Institute here, and we had this great conversation around what it is that you do, and how important is your personal health? How important is, even if whether you're an elite athlete or average Joe running down the street a mile, how important is taking care of your body?
It's everything. They haven't come up with a total body replacement yet. So,
Okay.
but it's everything. I mean, our bodies from the inside out and our minds, they control every aspect of our lives, and we're dependent upon our bodies for everyday activities. And, in our profession of athletic training, which is sports medicine, we say that we treat every body and every body as an athlete. And no matter what your goals are, as long as you have the goals of remaining healthy and active for your entire life, that's what Prime's about.
That's awesome. So, and tell me a little bit more about, there's multiple facets to your business. It's not just physical therapy or massage therapy. Tell me a little bit more about those different facets and what those are.
Sure. So we have athletic training, which I just said is sports medicine. It's like athletic therapy. It's like PT for athletes and sports performance. And then we have sports nutrition, physical therapy, massage therapy, sports psychology. We've got accountability, coaching, strength and conditioning, like one-on-one coaching. And we've got small group classes. So like I say, we're not a gym, but what classes we do offer are small in nature, like 4 to 6 clients at a time. And we're basically finding people's mobility and movement dysfunctions in those classes, whether it's yoga, small group training, low back pain class, any of those. We're finding mobility and movement dysfunctions and helping people clear those. So like I tell the gyms, if you have that person in your gym that in your class that you're constantly having to modify for, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, what am I going to do with Lori today, or John tomorrow? How am I going to regress their exercises? What am I going to change because they're not getting better? Give them to us, and our coaches will help screen them and clear those movement and mobility dysfunctions, and then give them back to the gyms so that they can continue to push them to their benefit. So we're a multidisciplinary sports medicine clinic. It's a vision that I had for 20 years. And I came from the collegiate sports background, where I was yeah, so I played volleyball for a few years at Central Washington University. And I was a pre-physical therapy major, biology major, had done all of my volunteering hours in high school. I knew exactly the track I was going to be on for going to PT school. And so I was playing volleyball and studying pre-PT and biology, and hurt my hamstring one day in the weight room. And the coach told me to go to the athletic trainer in the training room. And so I went in, and the back of my leg was black and blue from maxing out in squats because we were testing that day. And the athletic trainer at Central helped me rehab it and get it back and get me back on the court. And in that moment, I thought, wait a second, this is actually what I want to do with rehabbing injuries. And there's something different about this. And I looked into it a little bit deeper. found that WSU had one of the top programs in the nation. It was just a couple more hours east than where I was, and applied and got into school there and got into the athletic training program there. And in working at WSU, I had this idea that everybody could benefit from that model, that medical model. And at WSU, we, as a medical staff, there were 14 full-time staff athletic trainers, 5 team physicians, 1 orthopedic physician that took care of all of our athletes, sports dietitian, sports psychologist, strength and conditioning coaches. And we were all one cohesive team. And you take that one athlete who's healthy and you keep them healthy. And you have the athlete that's slowly degrading and getting injured, and you bring them back. And every Monday morning at 6 a.m., we would have these medical rounds where all of us, all 14 athletic trainers, all of the medical staff, the doctors, the sports dietitians, sports psychologists, we would all basically sit at one giant conference table, and we would round on, meaning that we would discuss all of the people on our injury list. And it gave this one big cohesive moment where you could say, I have an athlete that has these symptoms. And it was incredible. There were some times where, sure, it's just a normal ankle sprain, and we would kind of move through the list. And then there was a moment where an athletic trainer in basketball brought up 3 symptoms. And it was 3 classic symptoms that the rest of us were like, okay. And all of the physicians leaned forward and said, oh my goodness, this is a classic case of, and it was a pretty serious illness that we caught in time, and pretty much helped save that patient's life. They had a pretty rare disease. And I thought, gosh, this is really something that we can build out and give to the general population. We can have all of these professions under one roof, and we can discuss their cases with their permission and make sure that we're all on the same page. We're not working against each other, and we're helping get that person better and keep them well. That's our number one goal, is prevention of injury and health and maintenance of health. And so if we can keep people from getting sick and injured, great. And if we can help people get better when they are, even greater. So that's kind of the whole vision.
Beyond just the strength and fitness, right? Strength and fitness is obviously part of what you're doing, but in order to really level that up, and this is not just for elite athletes, this is for every person that wants to improve their posture. As you can see me slouching right now. I mean, but it's there's so many facets to it. So you basically took a more collective approach to rehabilitation or prepping for bigger events, things like that. And give people a platform to do that. So it's not just about strength and conditioning, right?
Right. Yeah. It's about prevention of injury. It's about being your best self. It's about high performance in life. You know, everybody's an athlete. I'm looking out the window in my neighborhood, and there's tons of people in my neighborhood walking, running, cycling, skateboarding, whatever it is. Let us keep you going, you know, and be at your top, at your best, so that you're always feeling well and being well. So.
Mm-hmm. For you, before we kind of get back into like what we're experiencing right now, for someone like you and I absolutely know the value. There's many people that are probably watching or will watch this that know the value of a sports like coach, like a mindset coach, right? Yeah. Tell me a little bit more about sports psychology and how important mindset is to physicality and how important physicality is to mindset.
Oh my goodness, that is a whole big topic.
Yeah.
We could go on forever. The mind and body are so interwoven, right? And you know, the sports psychologist that I first encountered likes to say, happy racers go faster. And you don't have to be a racer. Happy, you know, underline, fill in the blank, go faster. Or at their optimum. If you have a healthy mind and you work on being the best version of yourself, and you take care of the little, we call them niggles, the little injuries in your body. But if you take care of those little niggles in the mind, any kind of little fluctuation and things that are going awry in your mind, then you can help your body be at its best. And that goes for anybody. I get the questions from people of, why would I need a sports psychologist? And we all could use one. There's I broke my ankle several years ago when we very first moved to Bellingham in 2011, and I destroyed it in the backcountry of Baker. And it really absolutely shifted my mindset. And I had the best run of my life the day before, and everything felt like it was clicking. And the next day I was unable to walk and had to have my ankle reconstructed. And there's some apprehension through the whole process of being non-weight bearing for, a period of time. And those first steps of, after being off of it for 4.5 months, of, okay, now they say it's okay. And here I had treated this. I'm a medical professional. I've treated this. And yet I'm still thinking, are they sure? Is this thing going to hold me up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And, how am I going to feel? What is it going to feel like? How much is too much? And, coming from a medical provider myself, there's still some apprehension. And to work with a professional that can say, let's dig into that. Let's give you the tools and the resources, just like I give people exercises and things to do to feel better, they give you the resources and tools to get better. And I think it's really important that in mental health, it's really helped take the stigma away from mental health, because you take care of your body, why not take care of your mind?
Right.
And like we said, it's so interwoven, and it just, don't let your mind hold your body back.
Right. Capable of so much more than we allow ourselves to do, right?
Absolutely. We haven't even tapped into the potential of our minds. So if you allow that provider to help you, imagine what you're capable of. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, let's jump into a little bit more about what's going on right now. And so much of what, in my experience, physical therapy, sports psychology, massage therapy is about gathering, and also like people being in the same place, touching and helping guide people, restructure your posture, all these things. It's so important. And all of a sudden this COVID 19 hit, and all of a sudden we have to start to rethink, how are we running our businesses? Tell me a little bit more about kind of January to right now. Where were you at, and what was that like when it hit?
So really good question. We opened the doors of Prime in its full vision of what it is right now, that I've been building it up to, in October 2018. And this January and February, we finally hit the numbers that we needed to see, that matched the business plan. And I thought, okay, we're here. Keep pushing, stay there, keep building, because we still weren't done, but we were starting to hit the numbers that we needed. And then, as we know, COVID hit, and the floor just dropped out. And I know that's similar for a lot of businesses, especially startups. I've heard that from a few people that I know, that they were just finally, hitting those numbers too, and just finally seeing that. And it was rough. It was devastating, because I thought, what are we going to do? You can't social distance. Like you were saying, there's a lot of hands-on contact, massage therapy, obviously, physical therapy, athletic training. You can't social distance and correct somebody and not be in their space for more than 10 minutes or less than 10 minutes and do what we do. So it's been a massive shift of trying to game plan. Where are we going? What's the state recommending? What's the Department of Health for Washington State recommending? What are our governing bodies recommending on the national level? What's the World Health Organization recommending? We've been following everybody and trying to make sure that when we do come back, we've got everything in place to keep our community safe, to keep our staff safe, to keep our clients safe. And we're still working on it. I mean, we're ordering, pre-ordering PPE right now, and we're looking at reshifting. And I was on the phone with one of my employees earlier today, and he said, "Gosh, what is this new normal going to look like?" And it's going to be different. It's going to have to be different, at least initially. We have to pivot. We have to change things up. I think we still don't totally understand this virus enough. As a medical provider who's reached out to other health providers and infectious disease specialists, we still don't know enough about this. So I err on the side of caution even more so, running a medical facility. So
absolutely. So I think it's the same conversation. It hit pretty hard with everybody, but for somebody that's just hit that point, so you've built and you've built and you've built, and you're in, like, startups are really 2 to 3 years, right? You're still in the beginning phases, but I know that moment when you're like, whoa, I just caught my stride. This is what we've been talking about this whole time. It's not that you don't need to keep building. It's just that moment where you've finally got to the point where, like, you're comfortable and you can actually, like, take a second and breathe. And so tell me a little bit more about how many employees do you have, or people that are contractors that work in your business? How many people are you currently working with as patients? Tell me a little bit more about that.
So we have on staff, we have 11 employees, and we have 5 independent contractors that rent space and cohesively still work with us, but still own their own brand. And part of our employees, we have massage therapists, so we have 5 of them. And the other 6 are clinic aides, another athletic trainer, and our office manager. So yeah, we had to lay everybody off on standby.
So on standby right now. And what for you as a business owner, I mean, is that must be tough. That must be a really challenging people that you really care about, that are a huge part of what you do. Tell me, what was that like for you?
It was rough. March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, I think that's kind of the pinnacle of when everything started kind of reaching a peak of laying off. The first layoff was the 5 massage therapists. And that just, it stung. It's I'm a healthcare provider. We're very compassionate people, and to be a business owner / healthcare provider, you're wearing 2 different hats, and you have to kind of bring your D a little bit in the DISC assessment. And I'm a very high C, and so to lay them off, I'm thinking I'm putting on more of my business hat and thinking this is best for them. It's best for the business. The faster that I can get them on the benefits that they're entitled to, and ease the burden of payroll on the business, and provide safety for our clients and patients, then I was checking all the boxes of doing everything right. And so it took the emotion out of it, which was nice. I'm really lucky. My wife, Erica, is co-owner of Prime, and she's a former swim coach, collegiate swim coach of 15 years. And she does all of our team building and accountability. And she helps me to understand a little bit better of when to switch hats. And so I get some good coaching there. So I have to give her a lot of credit in that. March 19th, 2 days later, the border closed, and some of our clients couldn't come across the border. We do see people from Point Roberts and up in Canada. And so that was a big shift there too. That's also the day that we started our disaster loan paperwork. I was on the phone with the bank. I was on the phone with our landlords, just trying to kind of put everything in play there. And then March 20th is when I had to lay off all of the 6 other employees and put them on standby. That day, it really sunk in a little bit more emotionally that day, because the building was empty. It was just Erica and me. And we brought the team together, the rest of the team together, and we gathered everybody kind of in the entrance of Prime. And it's incredible, because I think we've got an incredible team. We've done a really good job of building team cohesiveness, and everybody really kind of has each other's backs. And although it was sad, there was this general understanding. And our office manager's dad is a former collegiate basketball coach at a pretty high level. And he was there kind of in the background while I kind of gave the last hurrah and sent everybody off. And he asked if he could say just a word. And it felt like a locker room pep talk after being in a lot of locker rooms and having some really great coaches that I've learned from talk. He just said, don't waste a crisis. And I thought, okay, we can do this. We will do this. We're going to rise, and we're going to make not just the best of it, but we're going to improve on everything we wanted to improve on in this time off. And so that's the road that I've been trying to go down since then.
It's a huge silver lining, and it's something that you mentioned, and I think we can both attest to this, having played team sports, and many others that are watching this or have a team of some sort. I mean, how important is it, and how is it working with your significant other? I mean, that's something that my wife and I talked about, and we're actually really grateful we didn't, but it sounds like it's such a good, not just, personal pairing, but it's also really important that you have that balance, somebody else that maybe has a different personality. That, does your wife, does she have more of the D personality than you do in the disc assessment?
Yeah. If you look at our disc assessments, they're pretty close. They're almost identical. High C with high S too, and that's that conscientiousness and steadiness factor. But as you know, you have to have kind of all 4 components. You just have a different variance, and you got to know when to bring a different behavioral aspect into a situation. And so she brings a little more D than I do. So she keeps us on task a little bit more and has more directiveness and leadership than I do. So it's something that I'm definitely working on as a business owner. And COVID's brought out, I think, some really good things. And part of it, when you talk about like, what is it like to work together and to live together, it's hard. It's hard to separate. I'm not going to lie. And we're terrible at it sometimes, especially in the first, couple years of this. And I mean, I started this business in 2012, and it was just me until 2018. And then bringing all of these employees on and independent contractors, it adds layer upon layer upon layer. And it's hard. It's you have to kind of take the emotion out of it, like I was saying before, and just keep things really just analytical. And then coming home, as owning your own business, you're kind of always working. And I've always strived to have this work-life balance. I still think that there's something out there. There's no perfect balance, as we know. I mean, that balance scale is not going to be a 50-50. And, but I think there is some give and take. And I think one of the best things about COVID is that it made the world stop.
Mm-hmm.
And when you make the world stop, you start to notice a lot. And one of the things I noticed was that I can't be the best leader in my business when I'm just grinding all the time. And that's what I was doing. And this has really kind of brought this human side that's a big part of who I am back. And it's allowing me to restructure things. Before I just felt like, okay, now we have this team, but everything's all on my shoulders. And this whole mindset of, wait a second, that's why you have a team.
Hmm.
You have to learn to lead better, to get things off your plate, and uh, give people more clear direction. And that's what I'm working on right now. I'm working on trying to prepare even better. Um, I used to bring my staff together, my student athletic trainers, at the end of a successful game at WSU, and the game would go well, meaning that there were no injuries, and so we didn't have to work. We got to watch a good game,
Hmm.
and we didn't have to go out and take care of a dislocated elbow or something like that. And everyone was cleaning up in the training room, and I would pull everybody in and I'd say, okay, everything went well, but how do we make it better? How do we constantly improve? And that's where I feel like I am right now is, okay, we're at a point right now, there's a pause button. We're rebuilding, we're restructuring, replanning. How do I do things differently to be even more effective as a leader? And that's my goal. it's
Yeah.
it's not easy. I look to my friends that are great leaders, and I've surrounded myself with people I really trust, their opinions, and I listen to what they're doing right now, and I think, okay, got it.
Yeah.
That's what I need to
Right.
be thinking. Like, yeah. So I really I value the people that are successful, that I look up to, and I try to emulate them in some way, shape, or form. So
Yeah. It
that's where
sounds
I'm now.
like two messages there. I mean, for step one is get out of your own way, like recognize who you are, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, but there's probably a lot of people out there that have a team, but haven't empowered or allowed their team to also be leaders within their company. And um, that's step one. And step two, it sounds like um, really taking the time to constantly focus on improving. And like, it's so interesting because we talk about with the DISC test, back to that, your natural traits and then your adapted traits, right? And to be a leader, if you don't have, like, not everyone, in fact most people don't have like an innate leadership trait to them, but they step into that role and get more and more uncomfortable to the point where they become that leader. So it sounds like for you it's incredibly important to not only create other leaders within your company, but in turn that it boosts you up as an adapted leader, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great analogy. That's my whole vision of the inner workings of Prime, is to enable people to be leaders, and to help build them to be the best versions of themselves, so that they can just take it and run with it. And they've done an incredible job with that. And to a certain degree, I think, I have done some things right in terms of leadership. I just have, in my mind, a lot more to do in that realm, to become a better leader. I think it's something I'm going to always be striving for.
Hmm. And how much do and again, this is kind of a general question, but uh, when you look at yourself as a leader and you look at leaders within your company and you look at your partnership with your wife, how how much of what you've created as a team do you think is just skill, like we're all really skilled at this, or skilled at building a business, and how much do you think of that as just like really really hard work?
Uh, I think that there's a balance of both. Um, I think that we brought on some skilled people, and we brought on people that I can see the potential in them. They came in skilled, and I can see even more potential. And they're just innate hard workers. So they've have both sides to them. It's not easy to build something that's kind of new. This is a new concept, and it's one of the very first in the nation. And when you are creating something out of the ethers, um, there are some things that I think go on kind of the backbone of normal business structure, and then there's some stuff that's just totally out of the air. And so we're trying to kind of bring that balance in together too. So to bring people that are willing to roll up their sleeves and get into it a little bit, and really challenge themselves, is important in this business. So.
And how important do you think resourcefulness is for a new business owner? I mean, for any business owner, but for you in this kind of uncharted territories, it's really exciting and it's awesome what you're doing and it's different. But when you have nothing else to really like gauge it with,
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So I think one of the best things I did was to find the resources that we still have around us right now. And we consider them still part of our team. We have the team that's at Prime that is kind of in the brick and mortar side of Prime. And then we have the people like our bookkeeper, who is phenomenal. We have the Small Business Development Center. We found them a long time ago when I was building the business plan and the financial business plan for this version of Prime. And so I started tapping into them and the resources there, and we started meeting very consistently years ago. Having the resource of an incredible bank and banker to work with, who completely had our backs through the whole PPP process, was amazing. I can't say enough about Shauna at Savvy Bank. And just surrounding yourself with all of those people, a great contract attorney, and a great accountant. I can sleep at night knowing that those teammates are doing their jobs to the best of their ability, and they're excellent at what they do. And I don't have to go digging around and Googling ideas and trying to find answers to things, because I just ask the questions and they give me the answers. And or help me solve it. So it's critical to find those right resources to be on the path of success.
So you're talking about surrounding yourself with these people that either have been there before or have maintained this balance of positivity and reality. And how do you as a leader, when chaos hits, we can be overly optimistic, right? As entrepreneurs or as business owners, I think part of it is like, we're excited about what we're creating and we see the future, but not everyone else sees the future the way that we do, exactly 100% the way we do. And so how do you find balance in positivity and like lifting your team up, and then also saying, this is the reality, this is not good? How do you find that balance of the motivation and the reality?
I have a mantra. The mantra that I've had, and it's my screensaver. It's up on the wall of my bathroom next to the bathroom mirror. It's at work. It's constantly around me, and it's hold the vision, trust the process. And it's that balance of optimism and then still reality of, you're going to do the hard work, and you have to do the hard work. No one's going to do it for you. And we are eternal optimists as entrepreneurs, and I am the eternal optimist.
Me too.
We're in a tough time now. Yeah, I can sense it. And I believe I tap into my intuition a lot. I have kind of a higher power that I tap into, and I really kind of calm myself. And I found that, if I can get still and really kind of listen, I'm going to go in the right direction. And so it doesn't take the place of still doing the work. And so that's how I find the balance is, I believe, and I move when kind of the doors open, and I pause when they don't. And it's hard to get staff and other people to believe that you're listening to your intuition, and to try and get them to understand that I don't know why I'm not moving on this right now. But when I do listen to my intuition, it always leads me in the right direction. I did put the pause button on during when we finally went to go kind of like submit the final paperwork for the PPP. And I walked into the room and Erica said, I just submitted it, all of our stuff for the PPP. And as we all know, once you submit it, if you're lucky and fortunate enough to get that money, it's out of your hands. Once they put the money in the account, the clock starts. And so we're still thinking, gosh, what does the Department of Health say? What are all the guidelines? How can we still social distance? What does it look like to be in a contact driven kind of profession? And I'm still so apprehensive about when do we start back? And she said, I just did it. And the first moment I thought, oh my goodness. And then instantly I just felt like this is the right thing.
Yeah.
Like, she made the call, and we always make the call together. She went off of her intuition that time, and thankfully it paid out, because I would have dragged my feet on that one, and we would have missed out. And fortunately, we got it. We were able to bring our office manager back and our athletic trainers. So that takes a lot off of my plate right now. It's
Yeah.
just two of us basically handling everything, and to bring a small portion of our team back to take some of that and keep going makes me really breathe easier. So
Absolutely. And part of that is creating multiple facets. We've heard it referred to on the show as what's your drive through, or what are the legs of your chair, or what are
right.
the different streams of your business. And so for you, and maybe this is your opportunity to create those different kind of, in the event that something like this happens, because we're not saying it's going to happen again, but the earth is constantly changing. There's always something new. There's always something that could put us in a situation like this. So for you, what is that drive through for you, or what is the drive through that you're creating in all of this, to keep your business safe through something like this?
That's an awesome question. Thankfully, because of the world that we live in now of video conferencing, we've switched over to telehealth, telemedicine, and we've got a service that we've been using, and we've been able to really shift over to that. About a year ago, I started dabbling in it, because we have people that travel, clients that travel all over the world, athletes that we treat that compete all over the world. And I wanted a telehealth platform that we could treat people while they were on the road. I had somebody that was walking the Camino in Spain, and we got her up to the point, and I thought, if she breaks down because this pops back up with the amount of mileage that she wants to do, she's got to have access to somebody that knows her history.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started playing around with this a while ago. So when COVID hit, it wasn't something that was new to me, but it just was the precipice. It was like we were right on the edge there, and it was just what I needed to kind of push me in that direction of, okay, launch it, go, try it. It's been incredible. I do a lot of movement screening and movement assessment, and so does Matt, our other athletic trainer. And what you're doing is you're taking someone through emotion, and you're watching them in 3 different planes of motion, and it gives us so much information about mobility dysfunctions, flexibility versus mobility, strength deficits, all of these different aspects that we can just break down without having to be in the same room and put our hands on somebody. And then being able to do what we always do in clinic, of teaching people how to do certain trigger point release, myofascial release, things like that. We can then just take people through it, because pretty much Bellingham's awesome. It's the reason, one of the reasons I moved to Bellingham was the active population, and people have almost like a little mini therapy gym in their house anyway. Everyone's got a foam roller and a lacrosse ball or trigger point ball, or a menagerie of things that we can use, that we do use. And then I just basically, and Matt just basically walks people through how to do things, and gives them exercises to get better, and checks in, and it's been awesome. So that's been a big portion of us maintaining success and keeping people going and keeping people healthy.
It's amazing. We have these what we call them someday maybe lists as business owners, where you say, well, I'm working so hard in the business and producing my widget, if that's what you want to call it, whatever it is, that how much time it takes for you to do this, to what the cost, you know what I mean? So that everyone has these widgets they're moving at a certain time. That's what the world it runs on.
Right.
But it's so interesting that we have these things that are on the business. There are more things that are not on in the business, they're on the business. So it sounds like you've had an opportunity to really kind of not by choice, but it's something that you're already doing. How important is that to prepare, like to weatherproof your business for the future after this experience?
It's critical. It's critical. I mean, if you can start to think outside the box and create other streams of helping people, it just gives you another safety net under another safety net under another safety net. And it's still, as long as you keep patient care and patient health and safety first and foremost and do no harm, great. You know, if we can keep people going and give them a high quality of care, then it's critical to the success of their health and our business. So, yeah.
And how important is quality over quantity for you? I know that for most business owners, it's incredibly important to have a relationship with their clients and have a high level of quality, but we still have to, there has to be a certain amount of people that we help during a certain amount of time to keep the business going. How important is quality to you?
It's everything. And that's actually why we're a cash-based business. I worked in physical therapy for 8 years as an athletic trainer, and I saw between 14 and 16 patients a day.
Wow.
And then in the clinical or the collegiate athletic setting, I had two rosters, two different teams of athletes to take care of. I had, an entire roster of volleyball athletes and an entire roster of swimming athletes to take care of. And when you have a higher number of people to serve and there's just one of you or less people to provide that, your quality goes down. And we did our best at the collegiate setting because I had 3 students that helped me, so I was able to kind of lead them and enable them to be learning what they needed to learn and help me. But in a physical therapy setting, I would say that we still provided a high quality of service. It just, in my standards, I think the medical model's broken, and I think it's insurance driven. And when insurance companies are not reimbursing providers for the quality work that they provide, and they continue to slash that, it's wrong, it's broken. And unfortunately, the way that we had to go was cash based. Insurance companies don't cover athletic training anyway, and what makes us unique at Prime is that we're an athletic trainer owned business, and like I said, it's like one of the first in the nation to have that kind of sports medicine professional leading. And so the insurance companies don't recognize us, and so they don't reimburse. But we're in control of our schedule more, so that we spend more time with a person, but they don't have to come in as frequently. And so because we spend maybe 45 minutes, an hour, sometimes 90 minutes, which I prefer, because then you can do the reevaluation, and you can do the all of the manual therapy techniques, and then you can give them more exercises and corrective exercises. Then you give them the homework and other things to do. They don't have to come back as often. I like to enable people so that they're not dependent upon us. There's a time and place when you need to see somebody, 2 times a week, or initially maybe 3 times a week, but that doesn't last forever. It's very short. And I think the cash model just delivers a higher level of quality.
Absolutely. So not only, and it's interesting because I know there's a fear as a business owner that if I charge more than, or charge the same as, the top dog of something, that people will not want to work with me because I'm not, like all that affordable or whatever it may be. But it's one of those things where, and I think you may be able to attest to this, where when you provide such a high level of quality and people see that they're not reliant on you necessarily, but you're empowering them to do the work outside, and they can do it on their own. It's so much more valuable, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I love when I get people back in the clinic, and they say, I met up with my running partners the other day, and on our run, somebody said, "Oh gosh, this is bothering me," and several of us in our running group have been working with you guys. And so we just stopped and we all just said, what about this? And have you tried that? And have you tried this? And they all started kind of like collaborating, and they ended up helping the person. They listened to some of what we do and heeded our advice, and they got better. And suddenly, it's kind of like this whole trickle effect out in the world of people, this ripple effect of people going out and helping each other. And that's great. A lot of what happens is that people overuse. Maybe they put too many miles on their shoes, and it could be as simple as that. But if some of their friends could just kind of, chime in and give some of these, solutions, it probably is part of the picture, and we'll start the process of getting them better. I love that. I love empowering people. We don't have pride in what we do. We're all about getting somebody better and educating them. And that's why we're an institute, is that we really value the level of education. And we really, the backbone of what we do is all evidence-based, is all data-driven type stuff. So if we can empower people with really good information that's proven, great.
Yeah.
I see it as a value. Yeah.
Coaching people to coach themselves and coach others. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
So being fairly young in the business world, how important has, coming to Bellingham, how important has this community been for you in particular, during this time and through the building of your business? Tell me more about Bellingham and your experience with Bellingham.
I love Bellingham. I have a long history with Bellingham. I was born and raised in Puyallup, but my mom is from Ferndale, and I'm fifth generation coming back to Bellingham. And so it was a very intentional move. I understood the community at least a little bit. Nothing like what I know of it now, but knowing that it was kind of that small town feel with the university in it, but very entrepreneurial, very active and nature driven and focused. It was a perfect place to launch Prime. It got me closer to my family, thankfully, and instead of being all the way over in Pullman. And it's, like I said, it's entrepreneurial here, obviously. I've formed some incredible relationships and friendships with people here. I watched my mom's family growing up in the funeral business build different structures of the business, and was always kind of part of listening to the conversation. So I understood at least some of the mindset that went behind some of the business. It gave me kind of an entry level there. And so I reached out and found incredible resources like we talked about. And then a lot of my great friends are in different forms of business in Bellingham. And they've been the second kind of ring of resources that I've surrounded myself with. And I've reached out to them, and, especially with like the loan paperwork and all of that process, we weren't getting a lot of information. And even right now, we're still not getting a lot of facts and specifics, and things are kind of clashing with each other when it comes to unemployment benefits for your employees. And some are kind of punching the clock, and others are salaried. So how do you match unemployment term, like the length of terms of when they get paid, with when you bring them back from the PPP? And so being able to reach out to friends and say, what are you doing with this? Or how are you managing that? What kind of accounts are you setting up to put this money in? And how do we make sure that it's payable, paid back or forgiven? Just really trying to kind of reach out and make sure that you're constantly like testing the waters with your friends and saying, what are you doing? How do I do what I'm doing better? So it's been incredible to have kind of all the different professions represented in the different people that we reach out to, because I feel like you're getting a better sampling basically of what's out there, not just into your industry. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, what message would you like to give people in Bellingham from what you're passionate about, and what's going on right now? Uh, Tell me, just, it's your platform. I want you to just tell people how do you feel about what's going on? What message would you like to, what kind of encouragement would you like to give people in Bellingham and people in your world?
Oh man, that's a good question. I think keep moving in all aspects. Keep moving physically because it helps the body and the mind. It gets you out. You can still social distance. You can still access. Thankfully, we have incredible access to trails all around us.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're not people living in Detroit, or somewhere where they don't have the beauty that we have here. So you don't have to drive places. You can just go right out your back door usually. So constantly staying active, be moving. Be moving basically constantly and looking for resources around. They're everywhere. I just got an email from a friend of mine today that said, are you aware of this women's entrepreneurial grant that exists that's going to have a deadline approaching soon? Constantly being on the lookout for things. When I was a kid out at Sandy Point visiting my grandparents, we used to always lift up the rocks and find the little crabs underneath and things like that. I feel like that's what we're doing right now. I feel like we are turning every rock and trying to find those little crab, because we would put them on the end of our hooks as bait, and we would catch bullheads off of my grandparents' dock. And if we can constantly turn every rock and look for every bait crab, I think we can catch bigger fish. So constantly keep your eyes open, talk to people, stay active for your body, for your mind. It gets you out of the house. It gets you away from your family. You come back a better person.
It's true.
We're in this for the long haul. Some research is saying that we might be looking at 2 years that 60 to 70% of the population has to have had COVID for us to be on the other side of this, to look at some sense of normalcy. So we have to have the long-term, that horizon out there that we're still looking at and plan for. So years ago, I was called a plow horse by a friend of ours, where he said, Kerry's the one that is going to have her head down and she's just going to keep going. She's just going to keep plowing the field. And that's kind of the mindset I think we all need to have right now, is that we can't be sprinters. We can't be middle distance runners. We have to be distance and ultra distance runners. So we're in it for the long haul, which means you have to rest, you have to recover, you have to feed your body right, you have to take care of your mind, and you have to have an incredible crew to constantly surround you to keep you well. So that's the advice I would give people.
I love the bait crabs. I love that. That's so great. Kerry, so for people that want to find you and find Prime Sports Institute, you have a website which is in the comments below and in the description of this video. Yeah. It's going to be all over our YouTube channel. We'll make sure that people can find the Prime Sports Institute. Instagram, Facebook, all of the links are below. Is calling you directly, going through the website, what's the best way to get a hold of you if someone says, I either want to get some sports psychology, I want to realign my body, I want to get some massage therapy? Where's the best place for them to go?
Go to the website, and they can always schedule online. And when in doubt, just call. And if you leave a message, we'll get back to you. And email is kind of the third level there. So you can email info@primebellingham.com. But one of those three will definitely get you in the right direction. But when in doubt, just call. We'll get back to you.
Awesome. And again, all links to all of the Prime Institute, Prime Sports Institute website, Instagram, Facebook is all below. So if anybody wants to just click directly from there to get more information, please do that. Kerry, thank you so much for joining me today. I know I will be in touch with you about realigning all of my old soccer injuries. And I really appreciate you taking the time today to join me on the Building Bellingham Pivot Series.
Thank you, Leo. Appreciate it.
And thank you everyone for joining today.